Greetings. I want to take a little bit of time today to talk about correlations and regressions. Now, most of us have grown up hearing words like these things are similar to those things, or these topics are different from those topics. Well, in mathematical terms, we can actually evaluate the level of similarity or correlation between two or more sets of data, and even differences. Now, to find out the differences, we need to use certain kinds of tests. Tests like a t-test, independent samples t-test, analysis of variance, a MANOVA, etc. There are nonparametric tests, tests that we can use with medians and ranked order data, and even percentages. We can do chi-square, for example, to determine whether or not proportional data is different. There's a difference in proportion z-test that we can also look at and use to evaluate the effectiveness of or the differences between two sets of data that involve percentages. Today I want to talk a little bit about correlations. Now, correlations can be determined through a simple correlation function, let's say on Excel, or it can be calculated by the regression test on Excel. It produces Pearson's R correlation, and so that's how we evaluate whether or not it's significant. Now, you can have a very high number for correlation, but you can have no significance. So that's why we have to look at the p-value that Excel gives us. When we look at the p-value, we can determine whether or not something is significant or insignificant. Now, just because something that's correlated is significant doesn't mean by default that if it's a little bit lower, it's not significant, therefore it's different. To evaluate differences, we have to look at tests that evaluate differences. But to look at similarities, we have to look at things like correlations. Now, continuous variables, like for example, weight, IQs, ACT scores, etc., those are all continuous variables. They can be added, subtracted, divided, multiplied. They're basically integers. Okay. Then we have categorical data, things like male, female, transgender, etc., on down the line. Those are different categories of variables that can be used in evaluation of data. In this particular case, we are talking about simple correlations. It's either correlated or it's not. And if it's not correlated, that does not mean that they're different. Okay, you got to keep that in mind. We have to have a difference test for that. So let's say that we're talking about two sets of two groups. You know, they study and then they have tests. And so we can evaluate the correlation between the amount of time spent studying and the scores that they have on a test. And we can take that data and type it into an Excel spreadsheet, push a couple of clicks, and then we have it. So I'm going to let you go at that point and trust that you will, if you have any questions, send me a text or an email and I'll be happy to answer them. Thanks. See ya. Bye-bye.